today we'll have a review of something that is not a fountain pen, but an accessory that you can use in combination with fountain pens. I was approached by a viewer who said that he had found this because he needed to do highlighting at work, text marking, and he couldn't use the regular highlighters. And I think if you use fountain pens and you have tried to use your standard highlighters with fountain pens, you will probably have found that your ink is smudged. So he found these, and he said, "Do you want to try them?" I said yes, and he said, "Well, I'll send you a few," and he did, and I'm very grateful, because this is pretty exciting, cool stuff, I think. Now, he sent me 3. There isn't so much to say about them. I think it is much more powerful to just do a demonstration with these things. But he sent me these things made by Staedtler in 3 colors, and they are called the Textsurfer Gel. And that's part of the whole thing. Which color looks best? I kind of like the orange. The neon yellow is very neon-y. Looks more like a pen than it looks like the standard marker. You know the ones I'm talking about, the flat ones. These have a cap. You uncap them, and then you see this really weird thing. And this really weird thing is operated by a little twisting knob at the end, and as you can see when I turn that, it pops out like a lipstick or something. These are gel based, but I think the easiest way to describe these, because this whole principle was new to me, is kind of like a crayon. It feels like using an old-fashioned wax crayon. It's very waxy, and that's pretty much it. So you get these in a bunch of colors, and they don't use a liquid ink. It is, I guess, a solidified gel of kinds, and it works really well. If your ink is wet when you put this on, clearly it's going to smudge, but if you let it dry for a bit, I think you're pretty safe. So why don't we do a quick demonstration, and that's all there's to it. Thanks again a lot for sending me these. I really appreciate it. I hope this is going to be useful, and I'm glad to see you later. Bye bye. Okay, so here we go. Let's do a bit of writing and then see what happens when we try to highlight that. I'm just going to write 3 words so that I can highlight them with all 3 of the highlighters. This is just a very simple pen and ink sketch with a Fountain Pen Revolution flex nib. For simplicity's sake, this would be about a fine. I'm just going to write the same word 3 times. And of course the ink has to be dry. It's unfair. Whoops! It's unfair to try and highlight it if your ink is still wet. Here we have a Parker Urban with a medium nib. This purple ink was Kaweco Purple. This is just Ackerman Royal Blue. So I thought I would give you a couple of different inks. Here we have a Visconti Opera Master in Tobacco with a medium nib. This is gold though, so these were steel. The ink is Caran d'Ache Saffron, unfortunately discontinued. Here we have a Delta Dolce Vita Oversize, broad nib, so we have gone from fine to medium to broad, and the ink is Mont Blanc Toffee Brown. Here we have this really interesting oversized Wing Sung, which I have ground into a stub. And the ink could be anything. Here we have a Visconti Australis with an oblique stub. And the ink is Passage Blau by Ackerman. And then here I thought we would do this. This is a Gamma Jumbo, I believe. But I put a different nib on it. This is a 1.9 millimeter Italic from Knox. So I thought that would kind of cover the gamut of nib options that you could have. You'd probably not use all of these at work. Oh, by the way, this is Diamine Autumn Oak. But, let's have a look. Let's start with the yellow one. Oh, sorry, I'm pulling on the wrong side. There we go. I think all of these are dry. This is Clairefontaine paper. Yeah, okay, that one's still a little bit wet, the bottom one, but that's okay. Here we go. So, that one was still a little wet, and you can see that it runs a little bit, but I think by the time we get to that point it should be dry, right there. As you can see, there doesn't really seem to be a lot of ink being smeared, even with this pretty wet pen. There was just a little bit of wet ink left. I think that looks pretty good. So that was the yellow. Let's move on to the orange. And again, I pull on the wrong side. Alright, now what we see here, I don't know what I did, oh here's the cap. What we see here is no smearing in that ink. There's definitely smearing there, and that's just a washable blue that was no longer wet, I'm sure. And with the other inks, it seems to have a little bit of issue with the toffee brown, but all others seem to be fine, including this very wet pen with autumn oak. Then finally, let's have a look at this pink one. Of course, I'm really layering it on here. But again, I don't think there really is a lot of smearing. I think the orange is the most naughty one when it comes to smearing your ink. Okay, so what are some benefits of these the Staedtler Textsurfer Highlighters? Well, obviously, they don't smudge your ink nearly as much as regular liquid ink-based highlighters would, at least in my experience. And it doesn't really matter what type of color you use, whether you go for the neon yellow or blue or orange. All of those things smear your ink. So I think performance here is very good, especially in the yellow and pink ones. The orange one seems to be a little bit more dodgy. I like that. A problem with respect to a normal highlighter is that a normal highlighter has a fixed width, which makes for a fairly consistent look if you highlight a lot of text. With these types of things, you can get anything from a sort of thin felt-tip line to a giant felt-tip line. So it is a little bit more difficult to get a consistent highlighting look. Also, as you can see here, I'm kind of highlighting the stuff. I don't know how well you can see that, but these are leftovers from the previous review that was done on the other page, on the other side of the paper. So that can be an issue if you use ballpoint pens, but of course the trick here is that we use this with fountain pens. So there you have it. I think this is a very interesting solution, definitely something that I will enjoy using. Maybe it's something you want to check out as well for your work or studies or whatever. Thanks again for sending me these highlighters. I really appreciate it. Guys, I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later.